how often should authors be updating their bio photos? Because we know our bio photos are our representation of ourselves out in the world. These are the things we use on the back cover of our books or on the inside of our books, on our website, on our social media. When we do interviews, these are the photos that we are sending to be representative of ourselves in those interviews, in the magazines, in all the articles that are written about us. This is our presentation of ourselves to our community. So how often should we be updating that? Because we see a lot of authors create a photo and then that's it. That's what they have for 5 years, for 10 years, for 20 years, and they no longer look like what they look like in the photos. So there is an actual answer to this. We're going to talk about that in a second. But the first thing you need to know is if you are physically altering yourself, you need to update your photo right then and there. So if you are changing your hair color or a dramatic hair length, if you're doing something that is physically changing the way that you look so that people will not be able to recognize you if they are comparing you to that photo, you need to update that photo. And it needs to be updated on your website, on your social medias, with your publisher. It needs to be updated in anywhere that is going forward. So any future interviews, you do not need to go back and necessarily change it in past books. You don't need to go change it in past interviews, but anything moving forward, you need to make sure you have an updated version to reflect who you are right now. We also want to make sure that we are changing this as we're aging. We're all getting older, and as we are changing, we're going to start looking a little bit physically different. I look different now in my mid-30s than I did in my mid-20s when I first started as an author. And so we want to make sure that we are frequently updating this bio photo. Now, we talk a lot about making sure you have a professional looking photo. That does not mean you have to work with a professional photographer. As a professional photographer, I can tell you with full confidence that's going to be your best bet. That's going to get the best pictures of you, but you can do it yourself. Do not take a selfie. Do not take a pixelated photo and use that. Nothing that looks like you're holding the phone near you. But you can have a friend, a family member, take your phone and take a nice, well-lit, non-pixelated photo of you to use as your image. You can even do this yourself by using a timer and a tripod. You don't necessarily have to have somebody, but you do have to have something that looks professional because this represents your business. This is your author brand, your author business. It cannot be a selfie. So you want to make sure you're using the highest quality camera source that you have, be it a phone or an actual camera or a higher level camera, having access to somebody who knows what they're doing with this, or if you're doing it yourself, we have tutorials on how to do this kind of thing here on the channel and over on the main channel. So make sure you are getting a good professional quality or at least looking photo. From there, you want to make sure you're updating this every 1 to 2 years. So you do not want to go more than 2 years. That's really pushing it using the same photo. You want to make sure you have options for this and you're leveling up. You're leveling up in your career. You're leveling up with the books that you're writing. You're leveling up with what you're doing. And so leaving that old photo is not going to be representative of who you are and who your brand is right now. Like I said, I started in my mid-20s as an author. I am now in my mid-30s. I guess it was later 20s and my mid-30s. I don't necessarily look the same. My facial structure has changed a little bit. The way that I do things has changed a little bit. I have aged, I have matured. And so having that picture of 27-year-old me is not the same as 36-year-old me. And so we want to make sure every 1 to 2 years, I prefer doing it every year, that you are updating this. And if you're putting out a bunch of books, that's going to be really good. You're going to have a bunch of different books with the same picture. If you're only putting out one book a year or every 2 years, then every book is going to have a new updated photo of you. But you want to make sure you have multiple versions of this. So one that is your staple, one that it's, yes, this is my author photo. This is representative of me. This is going to be representative of my author brand. But then you have other photos that you can send out for the interviews that you're doing. That way they have a collection of images. And this can be just a pretty posed picture. This can be something like you holding your stack of books or your book or whatever it happens to be. For the ones that go as a representative of your brand, I do recommend for the most part, you are going to have just a nice professional looking image of yourself without holding your books, and then have this for your interviews, have the books and have the things representative of some of the other stuff that you're doing, but have just something that people can very easily cut out and can be used in multiple arenas. So not necessarily just as an author photo, but when you start to do other things as well, that can be your bio photo for that too. So every 1 to 2 years, unless you make some kind of dramatic physical change to yourself that needs to be updated, you are making sure that you are taking some good quality, well-lit, non-pixelated photos. Again, not necessarily professional, but professional looking. You can look at posing. You can look at my tutorials and my photos. You can look at my content here on the channel and over on the main channel as well to get those ideas. I actually have photo shoots where I walk you through the process of taking photos by yourself without help on the main channel, so you can go check those out and make sure that you are updating this in the content that you are creating as you're moving forward, plus anything that's representative of your brand right now, like your social media and your website. And every time you update these photos, you then still have those photos you can be using to creating that content, to keep putting things out on your website, to build and expand things on your website. So this way you're getting a collection of images that you can be using in all the things that you're doing to still represent yourself and still look like yourself, but you're elevating and updating as you go. Questions on this, go ahead and drop it down below and follow along for more tutorials on how to thrive in the publishing space, from your writing to your publishing to your marketing, to make this your most profitable year ever with the least amount of stress and overwhelm and time commitment on your content creation as you are living your best life while also living out your other dreams. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.